Uh,
Hi, I'm so sorry. I thought I was unmuted. I said I'm okay. Can't really complain. How things been on your own side? It's been a while since we spoke.
it has. It has been fine. Fine. I've been okay. Work as normal. I noticed you've been MIA. Are you fine?
It's work.
It's work, Abby.
It's honestly work.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you. Apologies for the lag. As soon as
Sorry?
I say apologies for the lag.
No, it's good. It's good. We'll just give people some more minutes to join in, and then we're going to kick off properly.
Okay.
So say about in the next 3-4 minutes it would start.
Okay.
Hi, Praise. How are you doing?
Hi, Dara.
Hi,
Good
hi.
evening.
How's your day going?
Ah, It's going well.
Did
Or
you
it
work?
went well, rather.
What?
I said it went well.
Okay, great, great. Do you work remotely? Did you work from the office?
No, I work remotely.
Okay, that's nice. That's good to know. Oh, go. How are you?
Dara, I'm good. How are you? Good
I'm
evening.
doing well. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How have you been?
I've been alive and surviving. How
Well,
about you?
well, it's good. So it's good to hear your voice. It's good that you're fine. It's good you're fine. Thank you. So we're going to kick off now while we expect more people to join. I am outdoors. I really hope my background is not noisy. Please confirm if you can hear me clearly or if it's too noisy in my background.
Yeah,
There's
we can
some
hear you,
noise,
but
but
you
we
can
can
turn
hear
on
you.
noise cancellation now. You
Oh,
can turn on noise cancellation. We can hear you.
all right. All right. That's good then. So I'm really excited about today's session. And then I hope that with time on the call, you'll also know why, today's session is really, really, really exciting. The theme for the session is sales beyond the KPIs. So we're talking about what actually drives revenue in fintech, specifically cross-border payments. Now, if you're very current on LinkedIn, you will know that recently Oreoluwa announced a position as head of sales for remote sales at Leatherback, right? So it's really glad to have her on call. I would introduce her properly, but just know that that's the person who's coming to speak today. Okay, so I will just do a very, very quick exercise before we dive into today's session, right? So quickly, I want everyone on the call to take a moment to reflect on your quarter. Because if you really think about it, this is the end of a quarter, right? We've come to the end of Q2. So just take a minute to think about Q2 from when it started up until now that is coming to an end. And I want you to describe your Q2 with just one word. If you want to give some context after you describe it with a word, you're free to do that. But describe what Q2 has been like for you in one word. It could be hilarious, it could be anything at all. One word. Let's start with you, Promise. What has Q2 been like for you?
I honestly hoped I wouldn't go first. Q2 has been overwhelming.
Um,
really, really overwhelming. Context behind it, I just say I'm navigating a lot of change, and it's taking some time to get used to it, basically.
We work here.
Yeah, we work, everything generally. It's been a lot.
Well, I do hope that things get better, right? Thanks for sharing. And adulting, really, life sometimes, just a lot of things happening all at once. But I really do hope that things get better on your end, and things feel less overwhelming. Titi, please go ahead. One word to describe Q2.
Settling.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yes. I promised that there's been a lot of changes at my end as well. At the start, there was a lot at the start of this year.
Yeah.
And you end up points where while you're learning on the job, right? There's still like so much spotlight on you, and everybody assumes that you should know what you're doing from the very instant second, forgetting that you are also adjusting, right?
Very true.
But then, we had, the company town hall yesterday, and I was really excited about, settling. I feel like I finally feel like I think I know what I'm doing.
That's really good. That's a really good place to be in. That's a really good place to be in.
Yeah, I'm not there yet as the goals that I set for myself, but at least now every day now feels like, okay, I think I know what I'm doing in this part. Oh, okay, I think this is a new part that I think I'm getting the hang of. Oh, okay, cool. Right. So yeah, that's how it's been so far. Hopefully Q3 I'm able to double down on that and Kukuma just master everything completely and become a link DG.
And become what?
And be a good LinkedIn OG, advising everybody how to be a good MD or how to be a good CEO or something. Yeah, it's nice to actually have like a breather and be at that point where you're no longer, feeling every second like, what am I doing? So yeah, it feels good.
Oh, that's really good to know. I love that for you, Titi. That's great to hear. So we've had settling, we've had overwhelming. We're going to take some more people. I can see some new people on this call. So we'll just take some feedback from some of the new people. Let's see. Olayinwola Onyenuga. Hi, how are you doing?
Hello, Dara. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well. So we're talking about or describing what Q2 has been like using just one word, right? You can give some context, but with one word, what has Q2 been like?
Rising.
Sorry?
Iteration.
Oh, nice. Do you want to give some context to that?
Yes, I would love to give some context to it.
Okay.
The first is reflecting on everything that's been done from January down to now. And the next is reviewing what has been done well, also looking at what can be done better, and then new steps to take. That's it.
All right, that's great. Iteration. I would have called Akinyemi, but she dropped off. All right, that's great to hear. So let's just dive into the session already, right? We're going to have a talk session with Oreoluwa, who is on the call, and then there'll be a session for Q&A where we can ask questions and she'll provide answers to the questions. So if you're joining us briefly and this is your first time, right, this session is brought to you by TSP Community, the community for people in tech sales, tech revenue, and commercial roles. So if you are in a revenue-facing role or in a commercial-facing role in tech, this is the right place for you. And if you have colleagues who are also in the same field, right, put them on. They should be in TSP. TSP is the place to be. My name is Dara. I'm your host and the community founder. On the call, I have Oreoluwa Ajayi. Oreoluwa Ajayi is a seasoned financial service expert. She's been at this for 13 years. She's been doing growth strategy, business transformation, customer engagement, sales, BD, as you can think of in the fintech and digital service industries. She started her journey in Interswitch. I think I'd just like to take the opportunity to farms. I also worked at Interswitch, so my senior colleague. She started her journey at Interswitch, where she grew from the customer success executive to being the head of the retail business development team. And then she moved to Migo. At Migo, she did business development and sales. And then she moved to Prembly, where she became an associate director. Today, she heads digital ecosystem and remote sales at Leatherback. Hi, Oreoluwa. How are you doing today? It's so glad to have you here with us.
Thank you. Thanks, Dara. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Awesome.
All right, great. It's glad to have you here. Thank you for working around and making our time to be here, regardless of your busy schedule. I'm going to ask you a very quick question before we dive in, right? Out of remote sales, there's this conception that most high-ticket deals or enterprise deals are closed in person. Or at some point, you need to meet people in person for deals like that to close. Has that always been the case in your scenario?
Sorry, can you take that again? There's a bit of an echo, so it's hard for me to pick out what you're saying.
All right, great. So I was saying that, right, as head of remote sales at Leatherback, right, there's a conception that high-ticket deals or enterprise sales are closed in person. Even if you start virtually, right, at some point you might need to meet in person to close the deal. Being that you deal mostly with remote sales, what has that been like for you? Has that been the case? Or have you seen instances where you've closed really high ticket deals, enterprise deals, without necessarily having to meet them physically?
Absolutely. I think that, so I wouldn't say that is a total misconception, 100%. I would say that depending on the business area or depending on the sector, and depending on also the organization, that will sort of determine whether you need to be physically, at the person's office or have like physical interactions to close the sale. I mean, I would say that I have closed high ticket deals in like the traditional financial space without having to step into their office once. And I would say I've also had to step into, the office of one of the big ticket deals I've also closed with another, financial institution, because they're sort of different. So again, understanding the market that you're in, understanding the verticals and their persona and their buying, how they purchase, how they buy, right? Their buying persona, how they make decisions. That would help you, again, know how you should tackle each sale. Obviously, if you're trying to sell to maybe a legacy business or a legacy company like Lafarge, right? Of course, you would have to go into, right? I don't know how much they've evolved, but then you can also pick another company who is maybe at the same, almost at the same tier with Lafarge, that maybe is more digital focused, and you can close that sale virtually. So it really depends, to be honest.
That's true. I also find that for a lot of traditional businesses, you have to be there in person, and banks as well. Banks, if you don't want to invite them to you, if you don't want to come to the office, they will invite themselves to your office, and they would come and see you physically as well.
So yeah, that is also relative with banks as well, to be honest, right? With banks, there's some banks that I've closed a number of bank deals that I'm not the person that
really? Are you talking about Providos? Because Providos is forward thinking. Are you talking about
No, actually no, not Providos. I just don't want to drop the names. You're not Providos, right? No. I've closed 3 bank deals without having to. In fact, the ones that I met, I'm like, oh, maybe at some tech event or something, and I'm like, oh, okay, do you work at this? Are you this person? And then, but there's also like a top bank deal that I was chasing for a while that I had to go physically to meet them and be doing parapor with them. So it depends, really.
All right, that is good to know, really. That's good to know. Okay. So I'll throw the initial question I asked at you as well, right? If you could describe Q2 with one word, what would it be like? What would that word be?
Q2. So describing Q2 at Leatherback, I would say is eye-opening. It's teaching me, because I'm considering the fact that I joined them, at the start of Q2 as well. This is a new terrain for me in terms of the market segment. So there's a lot of unpacking for me, a lot of learning, a lot of finding out, right? So I would say Q2 has been a learning curve for me. However, the salesperson in me who is very, salespeople, they're always very go, 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 go. We want to see results. We want to perform. We want to do all of that. It's also been a bit, I've had to what's the word? To sort of cage myself in a way to say, listen, take a step back and do the necessary learning at this point in time, so that it's easier for you to now begin to close sales and you don't make mistakes, right? Because this is a very peculiar and very policy, very is heavily regulated as well, and the market that I play. So you really, really need to be careful. And any slight mistake, it can snowball into something really, really drastic. So I'm having to force myself to tell my salesperson to take a back seat, learn the things that you need to learn, so that you can also, from your learnings, empower the team that is working with you, and sales gets easier. So it's been a learning Q2 for me, learning experience.
That's great. That's great. A lot of people do not know this because I've not announced, but I also pivoted recently to a cross-border payment company. And what you're going through,
So I need to be careful not to give you any expo.
I will take as much, don't worry. But I think we're playing in different, we have different business models regardless. So what you're going through is something that I also did experience, because I had some experience or some exposure to remittance. And remittance, cross-border payments, they're not always necessarily the same thing, right? Now, you're remitting money to a company does not necessarily mean, it's going both ways. It could just be coming in or going out, but not necessarily. Yeah. So when I moved to this particular company, I think their business model was what made it different. P2P, there was the P2P aspect to things, even though it was powered by API. At the same time, there was a crypto layer to it, which was like stable coins. But if you're in cross-border payments or your remittance, you know that stable coins is really big for moving money in and out of different countries, because it's a lot cheaper and different other reasons. So I think my first couple of weeks, right? It wasn't about the sales. It wasn't about the sales skills. It was about the product, the model, how it worked. So for you, how were you able to balance expectations with that, with the learning, in order to, start generating results? What was that like for you?
I'm a realist, right? And it always helps to evaluate what the current situation is, just so that you manage your expectations and also manage expectations of your, the management, executive management, right? Again, what do we have on the table? what do we plan to achieve? How do we work towards achieving those things, right? So clearly, yes, you have a strategy, but again, strategy is not cast in stone. It is a live document that will keep evolving because of the new things that you discover. And so it's just, again, always going back to the drawing board, facing the realities of what it is, understanding the market that you play in, understanding the nuances as well that are in the market that you play in. And so me, I am operating from a strategic place. However, whilst sharing and empowering my team, right, with the information that I have and strategy and all of that, they are also doing some bits of sale or some bits of tilling so that by the time all the ducks are in the row, we are ready to move. We have something in the pipeline. We have something already, like a good foundation for us to, run with. So again, yes, it's a learning phase. Yes, we are covering a lot of things, but we are not doing that only. Do you get what I mean? We are still doing some level of sale in terms of prospecting, looking for opportunities and all of that. But you also know what the realities are. We know the things that we need to put in place. So I think, again, with business, I think most businesses that thrive today and that would, stay long in the game are businesses that are not wishing things away. They're businesses that are facing what the actual realities are. You're not, buttering up your management. You're not couching anything. You're saying things as they are. And so that, because it's really when you say things as they are that you're able to then prefer solutions in reality, right? So that's what it is. We put on the table what the realities are, what we are doing to change the realities, to improve on what the realities are, accept and take in whatever strategic or executive strategic ideas that they have to share, whatever solutions, and then we get on the how path. I hope I'm not confused anybody.
Well, you have not confused me, right? So that's great. Balancing strategy out, with the operational part that has worked for you. Okay. What's one sales tactic that worked for you in Q2? And what is one that did not work for you? So you will not be taking it along with you. You will be leaving it behind.
So I don't know if I'll be leaving any sales tactics. So when you say tactic, you mean like sales strategy, approach? Isn't that what you mean?
It could be a tip, it could be a trick, it could be something that is popular and people think will work, but it just did not work for you in Q2.
So I think one of the sales strategies or the few sales strategies that has really, really worked and we are and is still working for us would be social selling, right? So social selling, especially because of the region of my market focus, which is the UK and Canada and whatnot, right? So we really, really rely on social selling is essentially using the different social platforms to push out your business and your products, right? And so you need to identify who your target markets or your target audiences are, the tiers that they belong, where they are on the food chain, and the social platforms or the social channels they interact with the most. That would sort of help you decipher what kind of marketing materials and what kind of content you push out per channel. So that is really, for my markets and the region that I focus on, that is what has been working so far. Generally, in terms of sales, yes, you have to do a lot of consultative selling, a lot of account-based selling. There's so many methodologies or strategies that we use today because again they're sort of interwoven and interconnected. Generally, I operate, or one staple sales strategy that I use is relationship, right? So there's also something called relationship selling, which is you're going into an account, you're going into a sales conversation with the idea and the position of you being a partner. You're not just going as a bloody regular salesperson that just wants to dump whatever they're selling on their customer. You're going as a strategic partner. You are more focused on the long-term relationship. So you're going there, even if they're not ready to buy what you're selling in the immediate, because you're coming in as someone who is genuinely interested in their business, in their space, in their sector. They, first of all, you build trust. They let their guards down. They open up to you. They tell you the thing that they're not telling the third party, right? They see you as a strategic partner. And in that relationship and that trust that you've been able to build with a business, right? There's opportunities to sell, there's opportunities to upsell, to cross-sell as many times as you want, right? So, and that has really, really worked for me to the point where it doesn't matter where I move to or where my customers in certain companies move to. They would always call me and reach out to me to say, listen, Ore, I've moved from here to here. What you did for me over there, come and do it for me here. Come and replicate it for me here. Or they say, oh, you've moved. Okay, where are you now? Okay, so what can we do for you? How can we work together? It's based off of relationship. I just didn't go into somebody's office or go into a conversation with just the mindset of I want to sell. No, I want to build a relationship because there is more to do in the future. Right. So those are the things really that I like to pass it down to the people that I work with me to look at things from a broader perspective and not just what you're trying to achieve now. Someone who, if you've already prospected to give you $10 million today can give you $2 million tomorrow or in the next 6 months. Someone who you have prospected to give you $2 million now can give you $10 million in the next 6 months. So you need to know how you play your game. If not, if you focus on the now in selling, you will lose out on future opportunities.
Like building relationships is really, really key, right? Especially what you said about even if you're not closing even if the deal is not closing now, it is always a thing to prioritize, relationship building and nurturing that relationship regardless. Because you never know when you will come in handy. So, what are key KPIs you measure your team by? And do you personally review performance beyond traditional KPIs? Are there any other thing you watch out for beyond the typical how many meetings you should have, how many businesses you should reach out to, and of course, how many deals you close? Are there little other things you really pay attention to that affect revenue in any way?
Definitely. So beyond the regular traditional KPI, how many customers you close and all of that, I think it's very important for salespeople to also be conscious of customer retention, right, and account management, because it doesn't make sense for you to go through the trouble of looking for a customer, winning a customer over, signing, getting the deal. And then because of bad account management, you lose that customer in the space of 6 months or 3 months. Then all your efforts has been wasted, right? And a lot of salespeople don't understand the impact of good account management. In fact, most businesses that are still standing today, they are standing because of referrals, word of mouth. And who refers your business, who refers your services? They are customers that you have managed properly that are using your service or your products. Those are the people that would help you sell your business to other people, right? So salespeople need to look beyond just closing a deal and dumping and running and moving on to the next one. No, you need to build the skill of relationship management, account management, customer retention. You're not in operations, you're not a support person, all of that. However, you need to learn the art of empathizing with your customer by, even if you cannot provide the solution to them because you're not skilled for that, at least be able to manage them, till they get resolution. So one of the things that I track with my people everywhere I've worked is beyond your regular sales, KPI. I need to know what your, how many customers have you lost? How many customers have you retained? Right? Your relationship the customers that you have on board, how many upselling have you been able to do with the existing customer? Because you can only upsell or cross-sell to a customer that you have relationship with. Do you get what I mean? So those are key in the indices or indicators that I also track. One of the things that I also put my eyes on is also conversion rates, right? So the sales conversion rates is very, very key because it tells you how good a salesperson is. Sales conversion rates is how do you convert, or how quickly do you also convert the customers, your prospects, your leads? How do you convert them at different stages to the point where they are closed, right? It doesn't matter the size of the ticket or the deal ticket, but what is the conversion percentage rate, right? It tells me if you understand what it really, really takes to be a good salesperson. If your conversion rate is less than 15%, which is even the barest minimum, then it tells me that there's something wrong in your sales journey, right? So I also track sales conversion rates. What else? Yeah, I mean, apart from like the regular sales KPI, those are like the top 3 things that I track.
All right, thank you. That was really, really clear. That was really helpful. So let's talk about the market realities now, right? We know that this industry is really, really regulated. So how do you sell across borders where regulation differs? And have there been instances where regulatory policies have literally affected sales in a particular region that you play? And if yes to that, how did you manage it?
So I have notes here that's already jotted, preempted the questions. I'm just also looking through as well. So probably if my eyes are going left and right. So yes, I think one of the most important things that you can do in this space, especially with cross-border and selling into other markets outside of Nigeria, outside of Africa, is to bring yourself up to speed with the regulations, right? Every market has its regulation. They have their policies. They have requirements. You need to be abreast of whatever is going on in that market from different regulatory points, right? So that you don't crash before you even fly. The markets that I play in today, going into those markets and selling to this market, has been quite tricky because a lot of Nigerian businesses do this thing where they feel like the same sense that you can use that would fly, or the same things that you can get away with in Nigeria, you can try your luck abroad. You will get burnt. You will get totally burnt. So I would tell what we are doing is, or what we've done is to unpack and drop all our Nigerian sense in Nigeria and learn these other regions, ways of doing business. Learn from the existing guys. Get nuggets from even the traditional solid financial institutions that are there that have been doing businesses. Get your proper solid legal representative to point you in the right direction. Do your trademarking, do all the licensing that you need to do to ensure that at no point in time would the government, because they don't smile and you're not going to be, there's nobody for you to be tipping, to be giving, to be saying, oh, help me. No, it's a totally different terrain entirely. So do your due diligence very well so that you don't get burnt. Again, with cross-border, you will always have partners that would help you facilitate your business. You would always have enablers. So enablers would be your typical, traditional banks, right? Those would be your enablers. Those would be guys that would help you, that you would leverage onto do certain things. Each bank, each state, each region, each market has its do's and don'ts, right? if Bank A is enabling you to do USD transactions, for instance, and their do's is Bank B's don'ts, and Bank B is a UK bank that is helping you, enabling you to do ABC. You need to have to find a way to manage all of those things so that you don't lose out on any of those, because you're trying to onboard customers, you're trying to grow your market, you now break the rules and regulations that they have given to you. So again, it's all about to do your due diligence, dot your I's and cross your T's where you need to be legally established, get the proper licenses, at least have your foundation solid, and then you worry about how to take your product to market.
You've mentioned a number of key things. Yeah, licensing, can't stress that enough. Making sure you're right with regulation, even if that means working with a compliance expert in those regions, also cannot stress that enough. Yes. So the next question would be, aside regulatory challenges, which could sometimes occur, regulatory differences, have you found any cultural differences that have influenced buying decisions? If so, which, and then how did you navigate it?
Absolutely. So I would say one of the cultural shocks that I had, I think when I was trying to take our product to East Africa, was that, Nigerians, we have this boisterous thing. We are very audacious. We're lost, right? And we are borderline. They see us as borderline aggressive. We like things to be done sharp, the way we make our decisions, the way we think about business is totally, completely different. So one of the culture shocks that I had was, I'm trying to engage these people, trying to bring it to the market. They are just very, taking their time. They don't respond to things on time. They are very chill. I mean, the world is moving really, really fast. You're acting like you have the time in the world. Even when you get on the call and how they talk is very chill, very, I can't come and kill myself. So I had to learn to accept and understand their cultural way of thinking. Because it also impacts how they see business, how they do business, right? So as to not to, because if you push too hard, they're like, oh, okay, I can't deal. And they step away. So, and that's like Africa to Africa. And I'm going into like proper, emerging markets, the UK, the US. They are quick in terms of making decisions, but they are also very brutal, right? They are also very, if they don't want you, they don't want you. It doesn't matter how many stories that you tell. I don't want you, point blank. And I'm not going to entertain giving you reasons why I don't want you. That's it, right? But then you also need to know how to catch and captivate their mind. So there's a lot of, and for you to do that, you actually need to put your African sense, African brain, you put it down and learn how they reason, how they communicate, their language. When I say language, I'm not talking about accent or anything. Language meaning the use of words, the English, your email constructs. They don't want, Nigerians, no, don't type me a 5-paragraph email if you're trying to sell to a UK company no. Just put the pointers, let it be short, brief, straight to the point, no hassle. Again, one of the things that I've also spotted is they're also very particular about names, right? So it would really help you if you're trying to sell into, developed market in the UK, US, Canadian markets, if your name is not difficult to pronounce, it's not difficult to read. They are used to Indian names. They are used to French names. They are used to, they're used to some type of names. But when it comes to like core Nigerian names, in fact, once they see your name pop up in the email, they're thinking 21 reasons, negative reasons why, they're getting that email from an Oreoluwa Akinyemi. What is that? Do you get what I mean? So those are some of the things you also need to consider when you're trying to break into the market. There's so many cultural things that you would need to learn and unlearn and pick up on. Learn about languages, their messaging technique, how to communicate. If you really, really want to have, conversion with sales, if you really want to have good pickup rate to your emails, yeah.
When you were speaking, I was thinking, so for people that have long names, like imagine I was using Oluwadarasimi, will I not go and change my name or what? So for people who have traditional names, well, that is something so minute that one would not think that it's a contributing factor. But it's very important that we're pointing these things out and we're having this conversation. You've mentioned, the question I was going to ask you, I know you've already touched on certain things, how to build trust in this market, especially a market like the UK, some even in the Europe, right? If your company has, there's a thing with companies who already have like really big brands. For instance, if you're working with a Lemfi and you are talking about cross-border in UK, in US, they're familiar with Lemfi doing cross-border to MENA, regions. So it's not news for them when you come as, oh, I'm from Lemfi. Do you understand? But think about maybe starting from a smaller size company, a mid-size company. You might not have that leverage of branding, right? How then can you build trust?
So if you don't have a huge marketing, pocket or even though marketing goes a huge way, there are other ways you can still create brand visibility for yourself without necessarily breaking the back. You leverage on social media. Even with Lemfi, I think those were one of the tools that they used. They were all up in your face everywhere. It doesn't matter what region you are in. So that's one thing. Try to, because you need to spend money to make money, to be honest. So try to invest in some social media marketing. Another thing that you can do is invest in influencers, and they don't need to be like crazily expensive influencers. You can get students to be influencers, students that school in the UK or US to be influencers. You can get guys on social media to be influencers, people that are inexpensive. I feel like I'm giving you a secret because we are playing in the same industry now. So it's my body is peppering me.
We have different business models, please.
You can leverage on the communities, right? The immigrant communities that are there, they have a huge following. I mean, there's so many ways, so many inexpensive ways. You still spend money, but they're inexpensive ways to put your business out there. So visibility is one of the key things that these guys look out for in this market. Once they look at your business name, the first thing they do is they check Google, then they check different social platforms, then they check LinkedIn to just see anything they can find on your business. Then another thing is you need to get testimonials, right? Testimonials go a long way because testimonials sort of speaks to your track record, speaks to the fact that other businesses and other individuals can trust you. They can trust their money with you. So if you have 2, 3, 10, 100, 50, 500 customers that are using your products, even on a small scale, try to get quality testimonials from them that you can put out there that also speaks to the different personas of your customers, right? So that again, you don't need to, you shouldn't get testimonials from the same type of person or the same type of people. So different personas that will speak to the hearts of the different kinds of people you're trying to target. It would help build trust. It would help sort of build a foundation that they can ride on, right? People usually like to ride on the wave of other people, so it would help. Results. I feel like we shouldn't shy away from putting forward what you've been able to achieve. A lot of fintechs do that today, whether it is true or not, whether the numbers that they put out is over embellished or not, only them really knows. However, they for sure do not shy away from blowing their horn and shooting their horn, right? So put out your information, put out your results. If you've been able to achieve X amount of revenue or profits or whatnot, put it out there, right? So that there's something there that talks about your actual track records in quantifiable numbers, right? So those are the things I really think would sort of help in terms of give you like a crack in the door for, this market.
Thank you very much for that, Oreoluwa. So let's talk about trends, practical trends, right, that affect revenue growth. I'll give you an instance. I think I already mentioned earlier, right? There's a high rise of fintech adopting stable coins. Now, this is not new to like the crypto sect. It's been existing. But we're seeing even traditional fintechs. They might not want to touch crypto themselves, but they're partnering with companies that are licensed or even bold enough to do that. And it's really low key. But yeah, I'm also giving you industry secrets. But yeah, they're willing to partner with these companies because it is cheaper. That's one of the advantages. So it gives them leverage. Imagine we're both doing cross-border payments, and your product is a lot more, it's just as effective, but it's a lot more affordable because cross-border payments is expensive. That's leverage for you. It increases your value proposition and you can push that to customers. So have you seen this? And have you seen trends like this? Have you observed any trends like this that has affected revenue?
Absolutely. However, yes, staple coin and all of that, they're cheaper, they're, easier, all of that to work with. However, it also comes with, high risk, very, very high risk, right? In fact, again, it comes with very high risk. So depending on who your financial partners are and what their risk appetite is, and also what your risk appetite is as a cross-border business or an IMT or whatever it is, that will sort of determine the kind of decisions that you make. Yeah. Again, if you want to last long, you want to be here for the longest time, you also need to evaluate your risk appetite so that you don't you don't move faster than than your shadow. So yes, the trends are there, is working for some people. However, they've also gotten their hands burnt, their fingers have been burnt, but you would not know that because you're not in the system, you're not there, right? But trust me, they have gotten their hands burnt, right, from using this. It's working, it's cheaper, is faster, however, the risk there is crazy. So again, at what cost? What are you willing to lose? Are you willing to lose your major, banking partner because of a funny transaction? Are you willing to temporarily use your license because of you're trying to save cost and then something happens, there's money laundering on your platform, or it's crazy. So you need to know what again, which also brings me to saying that as a business, you need to know your why. What is your why for doing this business? If you're able to identify your why, then half of your decisions will be easier, right? So if your why is crooked, has comma, has different legwork, then obviously the way you make your decisions will be like that. But if your why is very the way it's supposed to be, ethical, and there's foresight, then
Are you still speaking?
I don't know if you can hear me. Can any other
Yes,
person?
yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? We
Yeah,
can
I
hear
can.
you.
I can.
Okay. All right. Great, great, great. So, all right, that's good. Duly noted. Duly noted. Let's talk about team now. Um, what framework do you or your team use, or what tools really? What tools helps you close faster, or what tools makes sales simpler for you and your team? What key tools?
There's so many prospecting lead generation tools, and we sort of shuffle between a number of them. So you have Lucia, you have Apollo. There's one that my colleague has been reading about. I can't remember the name, but there are quite a number of them actually that helps, with lead generation. There's your obviously your inbound leads as well. Um, Again, you have to have a functioning CRM, right, for sales. So whatever CRM that you think is best for you, there's Salesforce, there is what's this one now? Zoho. There's so many of them. We also have entities that independent entities that help you generate, qualified, pre-qualified leads and verified information. I think there's one called B2B hints, if I remember. So there are quite a number of them.
Right. You know, one thing I like, I feel like this particular call, before I ask, or this session, before I ask certain questions, you already answered them for me without even knowing. You've answered my follow-up questions, and that's really nice. Thank you very much. So I'm glad you mentioned CRM, because we have one of our partners here, and I'm going to be bringing him up briefly to talk about the CRM tool that they have in store for businesses. So if you're a sales team leader, or even you're on your sales team, right, and you're wondering what CRM tool to use, there are different CRM tools. Recently, I had to decide which one my team was going to use. So practically, I had to throw the ones I was familiar with and then try out on some new ones just to make that decision. And one of the CRM tools I sampled was Revit. And I said, no, we need to really, really learn about this. And I think I'll leave Donald, the expert, to come and talk about it. And he has something that'll be very beneficial to everyone in the phone who's a salesperson. It's a sales playbook template that you'll find really, really helpful. But stay tuned for that. Donald, are you ready? Hi, Donald, are you with us?
Hi, hello. Yeah,
Over
good
to you.
good evening. Yes. Yeah, hello everyone. Good evening. Very, very, very much happy to be here. And then I'm flattered that I said I'm the expert here, but yeah.
You are.
Uh yes. So amazing session so far. The chance to like speak after Ore, means a lot. Um, and like she said, she shared a lot of resources, tips, and things that like can help us like close deals faster and like move sales forward. And one of the things that she spoke about was like the leveraging tools to make your sales process like faster for you and more efficient. Instead of spending like a couple of minutes doing, let me say, sending emails or doing like researches, right? You have like some of these tools doing those for you. And so you're actually focusing on selling. I'm not going to come here and then start telling us about like what a CRM should do, or what a CRM should not do for you, right? But if you are here today and you don't have like a CRM in your information in your organization, you might need to revisit that. Because what the CRM is supposed to like drive your sales process from the beginning to the end, from how you are managing, instead of having like scattered data across like different platforms. So you have everything in one single platform. You know what all your team is doing, and what deals that your teams are currently facing, right? And so it was with that thought in mind that we built like Revit. But even much more than that, we also thought about building Revit like with the African market in mind. A lot of like most of these legacy CRMs out there, not going to mention names, are either too complex, very expensive. Some do the work, but they are expensive and they are not very customizable, right? And so it was with these key drivers that we decided to build Revit. We built it to like we build it to be very flexible so that it suits your business accordingly. You can create custom pipelines, create other entities that you want to track. One of the key things that we recently launched was like reporting, for you to like build out any kind of report on the CRM today. And so high level, that's what the CRM, what Revit CRM is about. um, just not to waste any more time, I'll be dropping like the link for anyone who wants to sign up. And then just like as a giveaway, as Dara mentioned, as important as the CRM is, also as Oreoluwa mentioned, you have to have a clearly defined sales process, from start to finish, what your salespersons are supposed to do, to your ICP is. And, to help with that, we built like a playbook that, we've been building for like several business. And I'm just going to drop it in the comment section for anyone that might be of benefit to it. Thank you. Thank you, Dara.
Thank you, Donald. Thank you so much. And thanks for sharing the sales book template. You can check our web.
You're muted. You're muted, Dara.
You're muted.
I was talking. All right. So thank you very much, Donald. I dropped the link for you to check out Revit for people who want to. So 3 things stood out to me when I tried Revit. First thing is they really have this whole AI thing that allows you, once you put the domain of any company, it automatically searches the internet and generates the description of the company. Now, someone that does not like wasting time typing things too much, that was really, really helpful. Another thing that stood out was the affordability in comparison to the value they're offering. It was really affordable compared to other CRM tools I tried. And I think the third thing that stood out to me was the form. They have this form that you can link to maybe your website or a landing page and generate inbound leads, and it flows straight up into the CRM tool. So I know Pipedrive does that because I use Pipedrive. I know they do that, but it's a paid add-on. So if you're really looking for a CRM tool to use for your business or on your team, you should check out Revit. And they're probably Nigerian as well. So yes, please check out Revit. If this is the first time you're finding out about Revit, let that name stick so that, when you think CRM, it could always come up. So let's go back to Oreoluwa. Hi, Oreoluwa. How are you doing? Yes, also you pay in Naira. Thank you, Titi. You pay in Naira. It's very, it makes life easy, really. Hi, Oreoluwa. How are you doing? We're back from
I thought we were done with me.
No, Aura said, guys, Aura said that when she saw the questions I sent to her, she said, want to finish her with questions. I said, yes, that's the plan. Sorry. You have mercy on us. So yes, we're wrapping up. Just about 2-3 more questions and we'll be done. I think you've already talked about sales tools. How do you keep your team motivated when deals are slow, when cycles are long? What do you do?
Very simple. Remind them of what's the why. Again, I keep saying the why. So remind them of the why and reestablish the vision, right? The vision. So the company has a vision, but then out of the company's vision, you carve out your vision, the vision for the team. right? So reminding them the why from a grand scale, but also remind them of the vision, sell the vision again to them, make them believe, reinforce their making them believe reinforces their drive, right? Ignites them. And where I used to work, Mitchell Interswitch is very good at that, where he always tells the dream again. And every time you hear the dream, it doesn't matter how long you've been working there for, whenever he tells the dream again, you get excited again, you get gingered again, right? And so that's one of the things I took personally from Mitchell, because the full year cannot be a bed of roses. You will have the good times and you will have the down times, right? And so in those down times, sell the dream again, remind them what the paint the picture again, let them see, the building you're trying to build, right? It would ginger them, it would encourage them, it would bring them alive again. So that's what I always do. And I always try to always find a balance so that they don't feel like it's only about work and I'm only concerned about them because of work. No, I show my team that beyond work, I am genuinely interested in you and what really, really makes you tick as an individual. Because again, relationship, the way I approach my selling is also sort of how I approach, how I deal with people as well. So I deal with people from a relationship standpoint. So beyond your work, right, I can only break through with a person or penetrate a person if I have a relationship with them. And how do you build a relationship? By genuinely showing that you're interested in what makes them tick as a person, what excites them, what ignites them, what their passion and their vision and their dream is. And so if you're able to get that information as a leader, now you help them fine-tune that. And in ways where you can align their own personal goals and vision to the team's goals, then it makes it easier, right, for you to keep them motivated at all times. So that's really what I do. Very simple.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope everyone has been able to take one thing away from this session. I think from what you just said, one thing I will try to do as a person is try to balance out today. I care, right? But sometimes I think I forget that work is not just work. People first, really. So sometimes I forget that, honestly. I try. I really try, but sometimes I forget that. That's something I try to remember. All right. Thank you so much for your time, Oreoluwa. Before we go, we're going to have a quick Q&A session. If you have any questions for Oreoluwa regarding fintech, cross-border payment, revenue generation, sales, now would be a good time to ask. Please raise up your virtual hands and I will bring you on stage. So if you have questions, please feel free. Questions. No one has questions. Everybody's generating revenue, hitting targets, 200%, 1000%. No questions for Oreoluwa. No questions at all. Okay. We have a question. Olaiwola, please go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay. So my question, hi, everyone. So my question is I believe, based on the quality of your experience, you would have experienced a couple of bottlenecks in driving revenue in terms of hitting KPIs or goals, right? How do you strategize in pushing sales on a product that is not moving forward in terms of outbound, right? It's a product that you need to get into the market, right? Speaking of fintech, right? Solutions, right? What do you do when you've tried, you've reached out, you've had customers, you've adjusted pricing, you've onboarded a few, and then it's not moving fast, right? And then the numbers expected are humongous. Now, it's not undoable, but then when your one is not converting to one, it's just recounting. You do 10 before you get to one. You do 50 before you get.
So, so two things. Two things could be the possible problem there. It could be the products, right? It could be a product issue. There's something called product purity, right? How easy, how adaptable is your products that you are selling? Is it customer centric? A lot of products are out there that were not built with the customer in mind, with the end user in mind, right? So how easy really is your product? The guys that's already onboarded and already using your product that you sold to, maybe do a deep finding, right, from them, how the experience is with the product, right? A fantastic product, to be honest, sells itself. A fantastic product, to be honest, sells itself. Now, your product doesn't need to be perfect, right? There's a difference between fantastic and it doesn't need to be perfect, but a good product sells itself. So it might be a product issue, and it might with the products, it might also be positioning, right? So if you're in a market where maybe it's saturated, everybody's selling almost the same thing, what is the unique, factor of your product? What is the differentiating factor? Is it really, really speaking to the needs, the actual core problems of that industry, of that market, right? Are you able to highlight and reposition your product to the markets there are so many products out there that might be solving 9 problems out of 10. And you can easily fall into that trap of creating your product to solve the same 9 problems, forgetting there is a 10th problem. So maybe repositioning, go back to the drawing board, re-engineer yourself and say, okay, as opposed to chasing to solve 9 problems out of 10, can I redirect and pivot to solve the 10th problem and allow the other 29 companies struggle to solve the 9 problems, right? So that is 1 or 2. Then it might also be a sales thing. Maybe the sales approach is maybe what is not required for that particular market or that particular vertical or persona or ICP. Maybe use a different sales approach. Sales approach could be, how you're reaching out to them, your messaging, your constructs, the tools that you're using. It might also be, what's the word now? What's this sales term? How you, for lack of a better word, the personas that you're targeting. So if you're trying to sell let's think of a product now. You're trying to sell a product that the buying power lies with the technical team, or the buying power lies with customer experience. But then you are now sending your emails, or you're targeting the MD, or you're targeting the CFO. Your mail is not going to move. That conversation is not going to move. They will not be interested in it, right? So you need to look at your ICPs and look at the personas that you need to target that have the buying power, the influence, identify coaches and sponsors, right, within those accounts or those conversations. It would help. It might help. Those are the things I can really think about. And that I've also, bringing it back home, that I've also experienced and also used as well. So in a strategy, when you look at strategy, like I said earlier, a strategy should never be cast in stone. Strategy should always be a live document that you keep tweaking, re-engineering, keep altering, keep adding, keep removing until you have a good working strategy that is perfect.
Fantastic. That was very good. Helps all scenarios. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Oreoluwa. That was an elaborate and at the same time very, very covering answer. Thank you. Praise, you have your answer. The floor is yours. We'll take a question and then we'll call it a night. Ah, your baby's around. All right, Praise, you have the floor.
Okay, hi, hi, Dara. Thank you very much. So I want to ask a question. I know this is regarding sales KPIs and the likes, but really I want to ask a question in regards to growth when it comes to what's the word now, when it comes to improving your metrics, right? So what's that one advice that you will give? I mean, you said a lot in terms of build relationship with your customers, not just for the now but for future purpose, and at the same time, but I just want one particular, if you have any feedback that you give to someone that is starting out and is trying to actually hit the KPIs and also grow when it comes to sales, what's that one? It can be more than one, but what's the advice that you give to them? Thank
Two
you.
things. Thanks, Chris, for the question. So two things that is very key and important: research, and resources. So research would be do your due diligence, right? Learn about even the sector that you play in, the company that you work for. Do your due diligence, do your research, arm yourself with as much knowledge as your brain can take at every point in time. Market insights, go out, network, be abreast of what is really, really going on, not just even in your industry, right? But also neighboring industries, if that makes sense. So I say this because if you're speaking to, say, maybe a partner, right? So this is even beyond sales. So this will be touched to sales, business development, growth. There are so many names that we call it now. If you're speaking to any partner or any prospect, it's good to be well informed beyond your current sector so that you can be seen as a valuable asset to them. So you are not just top notch in terms of knowledge in your own industry, but when they are having, because your customers are also dealing with other customers in other industries. So being abreast, you don't have to have deep knowledge, right, on the other sectors, but at least be able to hold conversation, be able to, have something to say when they're talking about other things outside of your sector. So do your research, empower yourself as much as you can. The second thing is resource. And resource can come in multiple forms. I always tell people, we're surrounded by people. You've worked in different places. You went to school. There are people that are connected to other people and other things. Make use of the human resource that you have around you. Your line manager is a good resource. Whether your line manager is good or bad, they have some knowledge they can pass down to you. So bring yourself down, leave your ego at home, and learn the things you need to learn from your line manager. Your line manager's line manager is a good resource. Your boss, if you're working in an environment where you have access to your MD or your CT or CFO, pick their brains, stroll to their office or strike up an unusual conversation just to get knowledge. From there, they can be your subconscious or unconscious mentors. They can be even your conscious mentors, your coaches. It's very, very important. They would help you navigate through the corporate life beyond where you currently work today. So it's always very, very important to not neglect the immediate human resources you have around you. Very, very important. You never be want, the Bukwawo Shika to be their mentor. They want this. No, you have people around you that have gathered a lot of knowledge. So why don't you tap into that wealth of knowledge that you have around you? Also, resource in terms of peers. You might be on the same level with somebody. You might have started the job on the same day. You guys might be on the same grade level, but your brains are different. What you know, completely different. Leverage on your peers' resource, right? Peer resource is very, very key. So those are the two things: human resource coaches, mentorship. Mentorship doesn't even have to be the skills you learn as an individual, as a corporate individual. 80% of it is actually on the job, and 50% of it are not things that you learn about the job. There are things you learn from the job, if that makes sense, right? There are auxiliary things you learn being part of that environment. So just lost my train of thoughts, but you get the gist.
Thank you so much, Oreoluwa. Praise, I hope you've gotten answers to your question, or do you have any other questions? A follow-up question.
Thank you, Dara. I got a lot. My book is
Exactly, a lot. This session is really packed. Thanks again, Oreoluwa, for your time. Really appreciate it. If you're new here, we're a community of people who are in tech sales, business development, revenue ops, tech commercial roles, basically. There'll be a link to join our community. I'm going to share that briefly. If you are not a part of our community already, however, we have sessions like this on a monthly basis. So we're going to have an upcoming session. We have a session coming up on Saturday, right? You could join us for that session. It's about the same time on Saturday. Please give me a minute to briefly share the link. Thank you so much, Titi. Join our community if you're not on it. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone. Bye. Thank you so much, Oreoluwa. Good night, everyone. There's a link in the chat box to join the community.